Minister, on behalf of Independent Ireland, I am standing here to fully support this motion and to demand action, not excuses. We didn't come into politics to play the insider game. Independent Ireland stands outside the cosy circle, where one party covers for the other, and waste and scandal get buried under spin and PR. We came into politics to fight for the ordinary people, especially those in rural Ireland who are being bled dry by taxes and squeezed by rising costs, while government wastes money hand over fist. Let's be crystal clear. Waste isn't just an issue of money, it's about respect, Minister. Respect for the people who get up early, work hard, pay their taxes and expect basic fairness in return. And what do they get? Printer scandals, security huts that cost more than houses. It's a slap in the face to every hard-working family. Speaking plainly, real people feel this waste every day. In West Cork and right across rural Ireland, waste means cut to rural services. It means people waiting hours for ambulances because the money to fund proper ambulance cover has been wasted on golden contracts and vanity projects. It means elderly people afraid to turn on the heat, while the government hands out contracts for IT systems that never get used. It means farmers asked to jump through environmental hoops, while the department can't even manage a tender process without doubling the cost. Independent Ireland was founded to stop this nonsense, to stand up for the people who follow the rules and to demand that the government follows the rules too. This is a rotten culture of no accountability. 808,000 for a printer that couldn't fit in the room. But you can get a home help visit for a housebound pensioner in West Cork. 725 million to bail out RTE, but try getting funding for a rural broadband scheme. 1.43 million for a security hut. That's the price of your family home in rural Ireland, homes in rural Ireland. The National Children's Hospital, 2.5 billion and counting. If any small builder ran a project like that, they'd be in court, not in receipt of another cheque. They'd probably be in jail, to be quite honest with you. 22 million wasted on ventilators that never worked, and then 50,000 to store them. That's waste on top of waste, Mr. 2.5 billion in medical compensation because the health service keeps getting it wrong. But instead of fixing the system, they just budget for the payouts. 336,000 for a bike shed, and we can't get a proper rural bus routes into our communities. 300 million spent on Metro North with nothing built, and yet rural roads crumble year after year. Electric buses left idle for 18 months because nobody thought about chargers. You couldn't really make some of this up. And 7 million for Arts Council IT system that has never been used. That's not just incompetence, it's completely and utterly disrespectful, Minister. Why Independent Ireland stands for reform? This isn't about the left or the right, it's about right and wrong. Independent Ireland stands for straight talk and common sense. Every cent wasted by the government is stolen from essential services. Health, housing, rural transport and support for carers and farmers and fishermen. We were founded to break the culture of cover-ups and excuses, to force real accountability and to put honest representation ahead of party loyalty. This motion is calling for a Department of Efficiency and Reform. This is exactly the kind of practical, no-nonsense measures Independent Ireland stands for. What real oversight should look like. We need independent auditors, not political appointees. We need experts from the private sector, people who actually know how to run a business, manage costs and keep projects on time and on budget. This new watchdog should have real power, the power to arrive unannounced, dig through the books and expose waste in real time. No more soft reports, no more lessons learned. If waste is found, heads should roll and the public should know exactly who is responsible. And crucially, this body must be independent of ministers and politics. No more departments investigating themselves. The public isn't fooled by that anymore. Fixing procurement, funding the golden circle. Procurement in this country is a rigged game, Minister. A golden circle of insiders who know how to play the system. Tenders balloon from 200,000 to 500,000 and nobody bats an eyelid. Independent Ireland demands a complete reset of public procurement with fixed price contracts, proper penalties for overruns and a ban on serial offenders getting further contracts. We need to treat public money like it's our own money because it's transparency, real time, real numbers. Every cent of public money should be traceable online. In plain English, for everyone to see. If you can track a package from China to Cork, you should be able to track where your tax money goes. Community groups applying for 5,000 have to account for every biscuit. I'm involved in 26 community groups. I know exactly this crisis and the problems they go through and the accountability they have to put before people. So they have to account for every biscuit. But government can lose millions and nobody blinks an eyelid. That's the double standards we're here to end. Why this motion matters? It's about restoring trust, and that is the problem. It's breaking down the trust of the public out there. We ask ourselves why such a high percentage of people in this country don't vote. You know why they don't vote. They see this and they don't see accountability, and they feel we're all dishonest and we're all tarred under one brush. The Irish people don't expect miracles. They expect basic competence and honesty. When Independent Ireland was founded, we said we'd stand for accountability, respect for taxpayers and fairness for rural Ireland. This motion is all about all these three. It's about saying waste isn't just bad management, it's a breach of trust. The trust is something we have to rebuild from the ground up. Independent Ireland's message to the government. We say this: if you oppose this motion, you are defending waste, you are endorsing scandal, you are telling the people waste is fine as long as it's not our money being wasted. But it is your money and my money and the money of every worker, every farmer, every carer, every pensioner and small business owner who pays their taxes in good faith to this country. And if you think we in Independent Ireland will stand quietly by while you squander it, you have another thing coming. We need to stand with the people. This motion is a line in the sand. Support it and show you respect the people who sent you here. Vote it down and it shows nothing has changed and the insider still runs the show. Independent Ireland, as we say, stands with the people. We demand honesty, accountability and respect for taxpayers' money. Every TD in this Dáil has projects where monies are not available for their projects, and then you pick 300 million on Metro North with nothing built. I have to ask you, Minister, how many wastewater treatment plants would this have built? Councillor Daniel Sexton and myself attended an Irish water briefing last Thursday evening in West Cork in relation to the wastewater treatment tank for Dunmanway. Sure, I could have said Shannon Vale, I could have said Goleen, I could have said Ross Carbery, I could have said Ballydehob, all these waiting 20, 26, 27 years for funding for wastewater treatment plants. It's astonishing. But to be told that they might have to wait till 2020, 2032, 33, 34, pie in the sky stuff, they'll never happen. They know it now. And the people of Dunmanway are rightly angered. They cannot build one house because there's no money for a wastewater treatment plant. But in the same time, there is 300 million on a metro wasted here with no metro on the line. There's 7 million to an arts council on IT and nothing for a wastewater treatment plant for Dunmanway. Can you answer me in reply, Minister? What do I say to the people of Dunmanway who desperately want to develop their town and surrounds and who want to build an autism centre with coaction and have funding got for that, but could see all these projects in jeopardy because the state has wasted hard-earned taxpayers' money and left vital projects collapse due to this waste? What would you advise me, Minister, to say to the Canty family from Ross Carbery who left RTE a vital piece of ground to give a TV service to their community many, many years ago? Until this day, they have not received one brown cent, even that RTE have erected several phone company mats to their own one in Ross Carbery, thus making a handsome, a lovely profit for themselves from the mast in another person's ground. I have raised this issue with the last minister, who spent a number of years ducking and weaving, but not giving credible answers, and today the Canty family can see quite clearly why they can't get paid, because we have to keep 7 million for IT for Arts Councils, 825,000 for IV house refurbishment, 336,000 on a bike shed that could have built a lovely home for people, and all this waste with no accountability and no head rolls, and still the Canty family will be left without a single cent or one bit of respect. Something stinks here, Minister, to the high heavens. This has to end, Minister, here and now. What do I say to the 30 students in the Greater Bantry area that are looking to get a bus service to the Scout Community College but are denied, leaving parents drive back and forth, 45-minute journey, maybe actually an hour each way, every day? Do I tell them there is no money for this bus service that the Minister keeps denying them? when they tell me about the Children's Hospital costing 250 billion to 300 billion, running millions over budget. They will point out to me the 22 million wasted on COVID ventilators that were never used, or the 120,000 for the National Gallery scanner, and still all this unaccountable waste. And these people being denied a simple school bus. Something's wrong somewhere, Minister, and we will be asking you to support this motion today to put the taxpayers first, the taxpayers of this country, the hard-working people of this country first. Thank you, Minister.
And I want to move the government's counter motion, and also to thank the deputies for tabling this motion. I welcome the opportunity to speak on the focus of achieving value for money across public services which the state provides. The past 5 years have seen an unprecedented expansion in the investment and delivery of public services. And I and the government absolutely condemns the waste of any public money. And I have to say I'm deeply disappointed with some of the cases which have come to light in recent weeks and months. And those examples of waste are unacceptable. The counter motion by the government sets out many of the actions which are currently underway to strengthen the value for money component of the work undertaken by my department and across government, and I want to speak to some of those actions today. Building up and improving public services for our growing population requires significant investment in infrastructure now and into the future. Government expenditure has provided and continues to provide a robust response to the challenges and the needs facing the Irish nation through continued investment and value for money in the delivery of public services and important infrastructure projects, with this investment making significant positive impacts, including almost 53,000 new local authority scheme dwellings and delivery of hundreds of projects under the Rural and Urban Regeneration and Development Funds, significant reductions in outpatient waiting lists and improved health facilities such as hospital extensions, new primary care centres and community nursing units across the country, the abolition of inpatient charges, the introduction of the free contraception scheme and the expansion of access to free GP care to over 670,000 people. Significant upgrades to Ireland's national road network and improvements to the public transport system, continued progress on the national broadband plan, such as that over 330,000 homes have now been passed by fibre, the free school book scheme, the early years childcare cost assistance to our families, and many more areas where there has been interventions and investment and support and the improvement in delivery of public services. And I think it's unfair that you haven't reflected and acknowledged that a lot of the investment that is being made is having a positive impact in communities and is having a positive impact for the people you represent. And I think, and I can reference, for example, the Sports Capital Programme and many other areas of capital investment which are valued. I know are valued by you as deputies and are areas that you'd advocate for. But your motion isn't balanced in the context of the significant investment and impact that is being made in public services. And I want to acknowledge the work and the dedication of many public and civil servants across the system who are helping to support all of the broader objectives in achieving these milestones, and to recognise the work that they do every day to try and achieve value for money across our public services. Government has in place a range of oversight mechanisms pertaining to public expenditure, and I would like to put examples of these frameworks in the Dáil record this morning, such as the various budgetary processes and reforms which are in place in support of oversight and delivery of policy, guidelines such as the National Infrastructure Guidelines, which were recently reformed, and the Public Spending Code for current expenditure, the Code of Practice of Governance for State Bodies, Public Financial Procedures, Public Procurement Guidelines, Arrangement for Oversight of Digital IT Projects and Initiatives, and the internal and external audit process which provide validation of public expenditure. It is the legal responsibility of departments to ensure that they and the bodies under their aegis comply with the governance and value for money principles and requirements, as their annual sanction to spend public money stipulates that departments and accounting officers must have in place appropriate measures to operate in full compliance. The Public Financial Procedures sets out the rules and underpinning legal framework for the appropriate use of public money. It is based on the Constitution and legislation, as well as the institutional and financial relationships between the Oireachtas, the Government, the Minister for Finance and the Minister for Public Expenditure. The detailed procedures of this framework are required to be observed by Government departments in their consumption of public funds to provide public services and develop the capital infrastructure of our country. And I would like to inform the House that my department will carry out a full review of public financial procedures, and this review will specifically examine the accountability requirements in terms of providing value for money. I want to be very clear that in my view and the view of everyone in government, there simply has to be accountability and value for money for state spending, and especially where there are specific questions over value for money considerations. Accountability must permeate through every level of the public service, including state agencies. Reviewing the public financial procedures is an effective way of ensuring this and will inform whatever steps are required in this regard. I also want to bring to the House's attention the work of my department in the recent introduction of the updated 2024 internal audit standards, as well as the financial reporting reform of the civil service, as evidence that this government and my department continue to raise accountability standards in the public service using best international practice, and that's how these have been developed in the context of global standards. These rules are required to be adhered to by all public bodies, and the Office of the Controller and Auditor General relies on and refers to these frameworks in its investigations and cites them in his reports, particularly frameworks such as the Code of Practice for the Governance of State Bodies and Public Financial Procedures. Furthermore, Article 33 of the Constitution establishes the Officer of the Controller and Auditor General, and the Office is a key institution in the checks and balances of our democracy. It continues to serve the state well, and its reports are considered and held in high regard by the Public Accounts Committee. Taking into account the governance frameworks already in place, ongoing work to make improvements in these frameworks and the constitutionally independent oversight provided by the Office of the Controller and Auditor General, there isn't a requirement for the establishment of a new or separate body that would duplicate the important work of the Controller and Auditor General, and that would also not have the same constitutionally independent and impartial role of the Controller and Auditor General. The Government has put in place frameworks to ensure that value for money is achieved, and my department actively continues to develop the frameworks in the areas of governance, accountability and public expenditure management. Budget 2025 is continuing to deliver improvements and expansion across our public services for our growing population, continuing to invest in our young people and prioritising the needs to address our infrastructure gap in the economy. We are committed to delivering value for money in the rollout of new services, as well as in the execution of the National Development Plan that provides housing, public transport, strong and reliable public utilities, healthcare and schools now and for the future. The ambition of this government is to support the delivery of the right public services and infrastructure in a manner that provides value for money. Thanks, Cathaoirleach.